All right, and welcome back. Got a special one for you today. So I'm not going to beat around the bush because this might take a minute, so let's get right to it. All right, here we go. So what we have, and in the interest of time, I've already poured the bourbons into the glasses, so they've been airing just a little bit. But what we have here is a Elijah Craig lineup. So we have Elijah Craig small batch. This is just the regular small batch 1789, 94 proof, okay? And then we have the Elijah Craig toasted barrel, which came to me in a sample from a buddy of mine. We swapped a couple of samples, and he had his hands on a toasted barrel. And then I have the Elijah Craig 18-year, which I picked up on my bourbon trip to Arkansas. And it wasn't just to buy bourbon, but of course, everywhere I go, I'm going to buy bourbon. I'm going to look and see what I can get. But it was to visit family as well. But the 18-year, not typical for what I review on this channel. I tried to keep the bourbons sub $100. This is definitely not. So we're going to compare and see what $200 does for a bourbon, or $190 or whatever it was. And then the Elijah Craig barrel proof, this is the B520 batch, which is lauded as one of the best Elijah Craig barrel proof batches that has been made. So here we go. And first I'm going to taste the regular old Elijah Craig, the one you can get for 36 bucks or whatever it is in your area. But we're going to get a little air in this, give it a little swirl. We're going to look at the color. The color on this is a medium amber. Now let me look at the color on all of these, because this is the toasted barrel. The toasted barrel comes in a little darker than the regular small batch Elijah Craig. And then the 18-year, something tells me it should be a little darker, but I can tell you from already looking at it that it's not. It looks almost the same as the regular Elijah Craig small batch. So let me swirl the Elijah Craig barrel proof B520, which is going to be on the darker side. It's even a slightly bit darker than the toasted barrel. But that's because they did not dilute it at all. And this one actually comes in at 127.2 proof, 63.6% alcohol by volume. Now, I know if you missed the episode before, when I went over the bourbon law and why some barrel proofs can go over 125, because if you know the law, it has to be distilled at no more than 180. And then it has to be barreled at no more than 125 proof. So how can this be 127.2? Well, the fact is water absorbs into the oak barrel and leaves the alcohol behind. So they probably barreled this really close to the 125 limit, which after aging actually raised the proof just a little bit. Now let's go back over here. And let's try the regular Elijah Craig that is attainable for everyone. That is a good bourbon for what it is. I really do like Elijah Craig. It's a little sweeter than some, but I call it honeysuckle. Because that's kind of what I get out of it. I'm not going to nose all of these. I know the nose on Elijah Craig really well, but I'll give a little nose to the toasted barrel here. But this is a good medium sweet whiskey. It's a really good bourbon, and you really can't go wrong. And I call this a base bourbon because it is kind of few noted, but I mean, there's a handful of notes in there. You can get that honeysuckle. You can get some grassy notes. You can get a little bready note. You can get the pear and apple and possibly even a hint of apricot. Now, let's compare that to the toasted barrel. The legs on all of these are similar. This one has the better legs, I can tell you that. And I've reviewed all of these except this one before. Now, the difference between these two. That one, honeysuckle sweet. This one, you do get more oaky notes out of it. There's darker notes coming through on the toasted barrel. Yep, it does add a little bit more complexity to Elijah Craig. I don't think the toasted barrel is that much of a price. If there is a price difference, I don't know, because this was a swap. I didn't purchase it, but I just haven't seen it on the shelf where I've been. But it does add a little more oaky complexity and it dips down into a darker caramel from the regular Elijah Craig. Now, before I taint my palate with the best, and I say the best, but I'm going to taste the 18 to see what it does. And before I do that, I'm going to go back to the regular small batch, because these are both small batch. This is just 18 year. Yep. I mean, that's very familiar, very good for what it is. All right. Full disclosure, I did have a snifter of this. You don't buy this type of unicorn and not drink it until you're on camera. So yes, I have had a small wee taste of it. Okay. Now, let me just tell you the difference between these. Are similar over here. One has a little darker oaky note, but there's still a young brightness to this bourbon over here. This is velvet, okay? This is, everything in it is mellowed out like crazy. There is far more complexity going on in this one. Wow. The caramels are still there. The honeysuckle's about gone. The sweetness is tamed down, and you're getting a lot more wood notes out of it, a lot more oak, but they're very soft. And it's well balanced across the tongue. That's just what aging does for a bourbon. And I wish we had more in the higher age ranges. I know there's the Eagle Rare has an 18, Elijah Craig has an 18 if you can find them. But that's just, there's a night and day difference between the two small batches right here. And it's just due to the aging. Yeah, you can tell after this one, that one's a little rougher around the edges. Still a fine bourbon, still a good bourbon for under $40. But this one, oh wow. It just makes me happy when I take a sip of this. It is just soft across the tongue, where these are a little rougher, but the dark notes coming out in it, even though it's not a dark in color, it is I mean, there are some plum notes, raisin coming out behind those apple notes. It's more like a dark roasted apple instead of a fresh apple. And the finish on it is more pronounced, but still it's rather light in finish. Now this one has the stronger finish for sure. It's really, I mean, even me, I'm a bourbon head, and it's hard for me to nail down what makes this so much better than this. But this started with this. So, you know, this is a really good base bourbon. This is a good complex bourbon. And it's all due to the extra aging. Now, let's pick up one of my favorites. Elijah Craig Barrel Proof Batch B520. Oh yeah, I forgot. I was going to mention too. This is 45% by alcohol by volume. Same. This is 47. So this is a little bit lighter alcohol. Now this is the big daddy over here. Oh wow. Now you're talking about getting some warmth. This will give you warmth. The notes on it, the softer notes here, gone. This is dipping deep, dark, because it hasn't been cut down. It's barrel proof. It came straight out of the barrel. So what you get in this, even though it doesn't have the aging that this one has, it is the full juice that they barreled. And it is fantastic. Fantastic. If I had to choose, of course, these two are my favorites out of the bunch. Again, though, I really like these two bourbons, but these two are far superior to these two. And you get a similar ride, ironically, from going from this 18-year to the barrel proof, because you're getting some of the slightly darker notes than this in this one, but you're getting way more notes in this one than the toasted barrel. You know, there's not much more to say about it. Is it worth it? I believe this bottle is worth every penny. For me, it's not for everybody. Okay, and we don't judge here. Again, enjoy the ride. This is a fine sipping bourbon. There's other ones you can get that are complex, well balanced. Just look at the reviews. Almost everything behind me is sub $100. This is the most expensive I have on the shelf. There, I do have something from Texas that was probably $115 or something, and I did review it, the Garrison Brothers, but I think it's a little overpriced, to tell you the truth. This one, I don't think it's overpriced. I think this is worth, to me, it's worth every penny. The price on the Elijah Craig Barrel Proofs are going up a little. I think I got this one for around $65. This one was, like I said, about 36, 37 bucks. But yeah, every once in a while to have something like this on the shelf is awesome. So guys, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. As always, please like and subscribe. Hit the bell down there for notifications, and I promise I'll keep bringing you these videos.